Can you record?
Yes.
Me too.
Okay, same thing. Okay, I'll do the gallery view again.
Okay. Third time's a charm. Ready, Tim?
I am ready. In Michael Parenti's classic
Parenti's classic
anti-imperial analysis
anti-imperial
of
analysis
Hollywood
of
movie,
Hollywood
he
movies.
points to the
He points to the
upside-down way
upside down
that the
way that
make-believe
the
media
make-believe media
portrays colonial
portrays
settlement.
colonial settlement.
In films like
In
Drum
films
Along the
like Drums
Mohawk
Along the
in
Mohawk,
1939 or
1939,
Shaka
or
Zulu
Shaka
in
Zulu in
1987, the
1987,
settler
the
is
settler
portrayed
is
as surrounded
portrayed
by
as
natives
surrounded by
inverting,
natives,
in
burdened
Parenti's view,
in Parenti's view,
the role of
the
aggressors
role of
so
aggressor
that
so that
colonialism
colonialism
is
is
made
made
to
to
look
look
like
like
self-defense.
self-defense.
Indeed,
Indeed,
aggression and
aggression and
self-defense are
self-defense
reversed in
are
these
reversed
movies,
in these
but the
movies,
image of a
but the image of
surrounded
a
fort
surrounded
is not
fort
false.
is not false.
Instead, the false
Instead, the
image is
false
what
image is
emerges
what
when a
emerges
critique of
when a critique
militarized
of
life is
militarized life
predicated
is
on the forgetting
predicated on
of
the
the life
forgetting
that
of the life
surrounds it.
that surrounds it.
The fort really
The
was
fort really
surrounded,
was
is
surrounded,
besieged
is
by what
besieged
still
by what
surrounds it,
still
the
surrounds it,
common
the
beyond and
common
beneath,
beyond and beneath,
before and before
before and before,
enclosure.
enclosure.
The surround
The surround
antagonizes the
antagonizes
logger
the
in its
logger in
midst
its midst,
while disturbing the
while
facts on the
disturbing the
ground with
facts on the
some
ground
outlaw
with some
planning.
outlaw planning.
Our task is the
Our task is the
self-defense of the
self-defense
surround
of the surround
in the
in the
face of
face
repeated
of
targeted
repeated targeted
dispossessions
dispossessions
through the settlers'
through the
armed
settlers'
incursion.
armed incursion.
And while
And
acquisitive
while
violence
acquisitive violence
occasions this
occasions this
self-defense,
self-defense,
it is recourse
it
to
is recourse to
self-possession in the face
self-possession
of
in the face
dispossession.
of dispossession.
Recourse, in other words, to
Recourse, in
politics.
other words,
That
politics.
represents the
That
real
represents the
danger.
real danger.
Politics is an
Politics
ongoing
is an
attack on
ongoing
the common,
attack on the
a
common,
general
the
and
general
generative
and
antagonism
generative
from
antagonism
within the
from
surround.
within the surround.
Consider the Black
Consider the
Panther
Black
Party
Panther
for
Party for
self-defense,
self-defense.
first theorists
First
of the
theorists of the
revolution of the
revolution
surround,
of the
the
surround,
black
the
before and
black
before,
before and
the
before,
already and the
the
forthcoming.
already and forthcoming.
Their twin commitment
Their
to
twin commitment
revolution
to
and
revolution
self-defense
and
emerged
self-defense
from the
emerged
recognition
from the
that the
recognition
preservation
that the
of black
preservation
social
of
life
black social
is
life
articulated
is
in and
articulated
with
in and
the
with
violence
the
of
violence
innovation.
of innovation.
This is not a
This is not
contradiction if the new
contradiction
thing,
if the new
always
thing,
calling for
always
itself,
calling for itself,
already lives
already
around and
lives around
below the
and
forts,
before the
the
forts,
police
the
stations,
police
the patrolled
stations, the patrol
highways, and the prison
highways, and the
towers.
prison towers.
The Panthers
The
theorized
Panthers
revolution
theorized
without
revolution
politics,
without
which
politics,
is to
which
say,
is to say revolution with
with
neither a
neither a
subject
subject nor a
nor
principle of
principle of
decision.
decision.
Against the law
Against the law
because they were
because they were
generating law,
generating law.
they
They
practiced an
practiced an
ongoing
ongoing
planning to be
planning to be
possessed,
possessed,
hopelessly and
hopelessly and
optimistically and
optimistically,
incessantly
incessantly
indebted,
indebted,
given to
given to
unfinished
unfinished
contrapuntal study
contrapuntal
of and
study
in
of
the
and in the
commonwealth,
commonwealth,
poverty, and the
poverty,
blackness
and the
of the surround.
blackness of the surround.
The self-defense of
Self-defense
revolution
of
is confronted
revolution
not
is
only by the
confronted not only by
brutalities,
the
but also by
brutalities,
the
but
false
also the
image of
false
enclosure.
image of
The
enclosure.
hard
The
materiality
hard
of the
materiality
unreal
of
convinces us that
convinces
we are
us that
surrounded,
we are
that we
surrounded,
must take
that we
possession
must
of
take
ourselves,
possession of
correct
ourselves,
ourselves,
correct ourselves,
remain in the
remain in the
emergency, on a
emergency,
permanent
on a
footing,
permanent footing,
settled,
settled,
determined,
determined,
protecting nothing but
protecting
an
nothing but
illusory
an
right to what
illusory
we
right
do not
of
have,
we do not have,
which the
which the
settler
settler
takes
takes
for
for
and
and
as
as
the commons.
the commons.
But in the moment
But in the
of
moment of
rights,
rights,
The
commons
is already
is already
in the
gone in the
movement
movement
to
to
and of the
and
common
of the
that
commons that
surrounds it and
surrounds
its
it
enclosure.
and its enclosure.
What's left
What's
is
left is
politics.
politics.
But even the
But even
politics
the
of the
politics of the
commons,
commons,
of the resistance
of the
to
resistance to
enclosure, can
enclosure,
only be a
can only
politics of
be
the ends,
politics of
a
the
rectitude aimed at the
rectitude aimed
regulatory
at the
end of the common.
regulatory end of the common.
And
And
even when
even
the
when the
election that was
election
won
that was
turns out
won
to have
turns
been
out to
lost,
have been
and the
lost,
bomb
and the bomb
detonates and or
detonates
fails
and
to
or
detonate,
fails to detonate,
the
the
common
common
preserves as if a
perseveres as the
kind
kind of
perseveres
else
as a if a
the
kind of
kind
elsewhere here
elsewhere
around
here
on the
around
ground
on the ground
surrounding
surrounding
hallucinogenic facts.
hallucinogenic facts.
Meanwhile,
Meanwhile,
politics
politics
soldiers
soldiers
on,
on,
claiming to defend
claiming
what
to
it has
defend
not
what it has
enclosed,
not enclosed,
enclosing what it cannot
enclosing what
defend,
it cannot
but only
defend,
in danger.
but only in danger.
The settler, having
The
settled for
settler, having
politics,
settled for politics,
arms himself in the
arms
name of
himself in the name
civilization,
of
while
civilization,
critique
while
initiates
critique
the
initiates the
self-defense of
self-defense
those
of
of us
those of
who
us
see
who see
hostility in the civil
hostility in the
union
civil
of settlement
union
and
of settlement
enclosure.
and enclosure.
We say rightly,
We say
if our
rightly,
critical
if
eyes
our
are
critical
sharp enough,
eyes are
that
sharp
it's
enough,
evil and
that it's
uncool
evil
to
and
have a
uncool
place in
to
the
have a
sun,
place in
in
the
the dirty
sun,
thinness
in the
of this
dirty thinness
atmosphere.
of this atmosphere.
That house the
That
sheriff
house
was
the sheriff
building
was
is in the
building
heart of a
is in the
fallout
heart of
zone.
a fallout zone.
And if our eyes
And
carry
if our eyes
sharpness
carry
farther out,
sharpness
we
farther out,
trail the
we
police
trail the
so that we
police
can
so
put
we
them
can
on
put
trial.
them on trial.
Having looked for
Having looked
politics
for
in order
politics
to
in
avoid
order
it,
to avoid it
we move next to each other
next to each other,
so that we can be
so we can
beside
be
ourselves.
beside ourselves,
Because we like the
because we
nightlife,
like the
which
nightlife,
ain't no
which
good life.
ain't no good life.
Critique lets us
Critique
know
lets us
that
know that
politics is
politics
radioactive,
is radioactive,
but politics is the
but politics is the
radiation of
radiation
critique.
of critique.
So it matters
So it
how
matters
long
how
we have to
long we
do it,
have to do it,
how long we
how
have to
long we
be
have to be
exposed to the
exposed to the
lethal
lethal
efforts of
effects
its
of this
antisocial energy.
antisocial energy.
Critique
Critique
endangers the
endangers the
sociality it is
sociality it is
supposed to
supposed to
defend,
defend,
not
not
because it might
because it
turn
might turn
inward to
inward to
damage
damage
politics,
politics,
but because it
but
would
because it
turn
would
to
turn to
politics and
politics
then
and
turn
then turn
outward,
outward
from the
from the
fort to the
fort to the
surround,
surround,
were it not
were
for
it not for
preservation,
preservation,
which is
which is
given
given
in
in
celebration of what we
celebration of
defend.
what we
The
defend. The
socio-poetic force we
socio-poetic
wrap
force we
tightly
wrap
around us,
tightly around us,
since we are
since we
poor.
are poor.
Taking down our
Taking
critique,
down our critique,
our own
our own
positions,
positions,
our
our
fortifications, is
fortifications is
self-defense with
self-defense allied with
self-preservation.
self-preservation.
That takedown
That takedown
comes in
comes
movement,
in a
as a
movement, as
shawl,
a shawl,
as an armor
the
of
armor
flight.
of light.
We
We
run looking
run
for a
looking
weapon
for
and
a
keep
weapon
running
and keep
looking to drop
running,
it.
looking to drop
And
it.
we can drop
And
it,
we can drop it
because
because,
however armed,
however armed,
however hard,
however hard,
the enemy we
the
face
enemy we face
is
is
also
also
illusory.
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 It's like it's like Diplodocus or Diplodocus, or how do what dinosaur is that? I forgot about the nice songs that your washer dryer makes.
My bad. Uncut
Perfect
devotion.
timing.
Oh, yes.
We're about to say uncut right after we cut the. Anyway, okay. Ready? Okay.
Uncut devotion.
Uncut devotion to
the critique of this illusion
makes us
delusional.
delusional.
In the trick of
In the
politics,
trick of politics, we are insufficient,
scarce,
scarce,
waiting in
waiting in
pockets
pockets of resistance,
in stairwells, in alleys, in vain.
in vain.
The false
The
image,
false image
and its critique
threaten the
common
common with democracy,
which is only ever
which
to
is
come,
only ever to come,
so that
one day,
which is
which
only
is never to come,
we will be
we
more
will
than
be
what
more
we are.
than we are.
But we already
But
are.
we already are.
We're already here,
We already here,
moving.
moving.
We've been around.
We've been around.
We're more than
We are more
politics,
than
more than
politics,
settled,
more than
more
settled,
than
more
democratic.
than democratic.
We surround
We surround
democracy's false
democracy's
image in
false
order to
image in
unsettle
order
it.
to unsettle it.
Every time it tries
Every
to
time it
enclose
tries to
us in a
enclose us in
decision,
a
we're
decision,
undecided.
we are undecided.
Every time it
Every
tries to
time it
represent
tries
our
to
will,
represent our
we're
will,
unwilling.
we are unwilling.
Every time it tries to
Every
take
time it tries to
root,
take
we're
root,
gone
we are gone
because we're already
because we're
here moving.
already here moving.
We ask
We
and we
ask and
tell,
we
and we
tell and we
cast a
cast the
spell that we
spell
are under,
that we are under,
which tells us what
which
to
tells
do
us what
and
we
how we
do and
shall be
how we
moved.
shall be
Here,
moved
where we
here,
dance the war
where we
of
dance the war
apposition.
of apposition.
We're in a trance
We're
that's
in a
under
trance
and
that's
around
under
us.
and around us.
We move
We
through
move
it,
through
and
it,
it moves
and
through
it
with
moves
us,
with us,
out beyond the
out
settlements,
beyond the
out
settlements,
beyond the
out
redevelopment,
beyond the
where
redevelopment,
black night is
where black
falling,
night is
where we
falling,
hate to be
where we
alone,
hate to be
back
alone,
inside to
back
sleep till
inside to
morning,
sleep till
drink
morning,
till
drink
morning,
till morning,
plan till
plan
morning,
till morning,
as the
as the
common
common
embrace,
embrace,
right inside
right
and
inside
around in the
and
surround.
around in the surround.
In the
In
clear,
clear,
critical light of day,
critical light of day,
illusory,
illusory
illusory,
administrators
whisper our need
whisper
for
our need for
institutions.
instructions.
And all
Institutions.
institutions are
Institutions
political,
are political,
and all politics
and
is
all politics
correctional.
is correctional.
So it seems
So
we
it
need
seems we need
correctional
correctional
institutions in the
institutions
common,
in the common,
settling it,
settling it,
correcting us.
correcting us.
But we won't stand
But we
corrected.
won't stand corrected.
Moreover,
Moreover,
incorrect as
incorrect
we
as we
are,
are,
there's nothing wrong
there's
with us.
nothing wrong with
We
us.
don't want to
We
be
don't
correct,
want to be
and we won't
corrected.
be corrected.
We don't be corrected.
Politics proposes
Politics
to make us
proposes to
better,
make us better.
but we were good
But we were
already
good
in the
already in the
mutual debt
mutual
that can
debt that
never
can
be
never
made
be
good.
made good.
We owe it to
We
each
owe
other
it to each other
to
to
falsify
falsify
the
the
institution,
institution,
to make
to
politics
make
incorrect,
politics incorrect,
to give the
to
lie
give the
to our
lie
own
to our own
determination.
determination.
We owe each other
We owe each
the
other the
indeterminate.
indeterminate.
We owe each other
We owe
everything.
each other everything.
An
An
abdication of
abdication
political
of political
responsibility?
responsibility.
Okay,
Okay,
whatever.
whatever.
We're just
We're just
anti-politically romantic
anti-politically romantic about
about actually
actually
existing social life.
existing social life.
We aren't
We
responsible for
aren't
politics.
responsible for politics.
We are the
We
general
are the
antagonism to
general
politics,
antagonism to
looming
politics,
outside
looming
every attempt to
outside every
politicize,
attempt to politicize,
every imposition
every
of
imposition
self-governance,
to self-governance,
every sovereign
every
decision
sovereign
and its
decision and
degraded
its
miniature,
degraded miniature,
every emergent
every
state
emergent
and home
state
sweet home.
and home sweet home.
We are
We
disruption
are
and
disruption
consent
and
to
consent
disruption.
to disruption.
We preserve
We
upheaval,
preserve upheaval,
sent to fulfill
sent
by
to
abolishing,
fulfill by
to
abolishing,
renew by
to
unsettling,
renew the
to
unsettling,
open the
to
enclosure
open the
whose
enclosure,
immeasurable
whose
venality
immeasurable venality
is inversely
is
proportionate
inversely
to its
proportionate to
actual
its
area.
actual
We
area.
got politics
We got
surrounded.
politics surrounded.
We cannot
We
represent
cannot
ourselves.
represent ourselves.
We can't be
We
represented.
can't be represented. I think we did it, Tim. And we've got 30 minutes to spare.
Great.
Yeah,
Should we read
man.
again?
We could even keep going if you want.
Yeah, do you want to?
Go into
No,
the
it's good
university.
stuff. Yeah, we wanna. I mean, it seems quiet out there.
Yeah.
My family might be at the door. All right.
Yeah, I'm game if you are, man.
Okay, let's do it.
All right, cool.
How far down is this? This, I would say,
25.
yeah, and it goes until like. I mean,
This
the
is a
whole-
longer one.
Yeah, it goes until like 43.
Uh-huh.
We could try, see how far we get, but I have
We-
to go like 2:55 maybe, so I could change my Zoom account and make it on time
Yeah.
to work. But yeah. Any suggestions sonically, performatively, like just the reading of the thing and want to think about or
I mean, I think just uh, I don't know. I'm just trying to tap into that flow, man. So
Okay.
I yeah, that's what feels good to me.
All right.
So,
Let's keep going then.
all right, dude.
Yeah. Okay.
Philosophy thus
Philosophy
traditionally
thus
practices
traditionally
a
practices a
critique
critique of
of
knowledge,
knowledge,
which is
which is
simultaneously a
simultaneously a denegation,
denegation of knowledge,
denegation of knowledge,
i.e., of the class
i.e., of class
struggle.
struggle.
Its
Its
position
position
can be
can be
described
described
as an
as an
irony
irony with
with regard to
regard to
knowledge,
knowledge,
which it puts
which it puts into
into
question
question without
without
ever
ever
touching its
touching its
foundations.
foundations.
The
The
questioning of
questioning of
knowledge in
knowledge in
philosophy
philosophy
always
always
ends in its
ends in its
restoration,
restoration,
a
a
movement
movement
great
great
philosophers
philosophers
consistently
consistently
expose in each
expose
other.
in each other. Should we say who did it?
I don't know. What do you think? I mean, we could could do that,
I
or
think
I could do like a little subtitle too,
yeah, subtitles. Yeah,
shove that in, yeah, because it seems a little weird. We just read the text, yeah, okay,
yeah, I think
because
so.
it's the commons.
Exactly.
Yes, yes. I am
Okay,
a
here we
black
go.
man,
I'm
number
black
one,
man number one
because I am
because
against
I'm
what they
against
have
what
done
they have
and
done
are still
and
doing
are
to us.
still doing to
And
us.
number two,
And number
I have
two,
something to
I have
say
something to
about
say
the new
about the
society
new
to be built,
society to be built
because I have the tremendous
because I have
part
a
in that
tremendous
which they have
part
sought
that
to
which they have
discredit.
sought to discredit. The only
The only
possible
possible
relationship to the
relationship to the
university
university
today
today
is a
is a
criminal one.
criminal one. To the
To
university
the
I'll steal,
university I'll
and
steal,
there I'll
and
steal,
there I'll steal.
borrow from
To borrow from
pistol
pistol
at the end of
at the end
Henry
of
V,
Henry V,
as he would
as he would
surely
surely
borrow
borrow
from
from
us.
us.
This is only
This is the
the
only
only
possible
possible relationship
relationship
to the
to the
American
American
university today.
university today.
This may be true
This
of
may be true
universities
of
everywhere.
universities everywhere.
It may
It
have to be
may have
true
to be
of the
true of the
university in general.
university in general,
But
but
certainly,
certainly this
this
much
much is
is
true
true
in the United
in the
States.
United
It
States.
cannot be
It
denied that
cannot
the
be denied
university
that the
is a place of
university is a
refuge,
place of
and it cannot
refuge,
be
and it cannot
accepted
be
that the
accepted that
university
the
is a place of
university is
enlightenment.
a place of
In
enlightenment.
the face of these conditions,
Face
one
of
can
these
only sneak
conditions, one
into
can
the
only sneak
university
into the
and steal what
university
one
and steal
can,
what one can,
to abuse its
to abuse
hospitality,
its
to spite
hospitality,
its mission,
spite its
to
mission,
join its
to
refugee
join its
colony,
refugee
its
colony,
gypsy
its
encampment,
gypsy
to
encampment,
be in
to
but
be
not
in
of.
but not of
This is the
this
path of
path
the
of the
subversive
subversive
intellectual in the modern
intellectual in the
university.
modern university.
Worry about the
Worry about the
university.
university.
This is the
This
injunction
is the
today in the
injunction
United
today in the
States,
United
one with a
States,
long history.
one with a long
Call
history.
for its
Call for
restoration
its
like Harold
restoration
Bloom or
like
Stanley
Harold Bloom or
Fish or
Stanley
Gerald
Fish
Graff.
or Gerald Scraft.
Call for its
Call
reform
for its
like Derek
reform
Bach
like
or Bill
Derek Bach or
Readings
Bill Readings
or
or
Carrie
Carrie
Nelson.
Nelson.
Call out to it
Call
as it
out to
calls to
it as
you.
it calls to you. But
But
for
for the
the
subversive
subversive
intellectual,
intellectual,
all of this
all of
goes
this
on
goes on
upstairs in polite
upstairs in
company
polite
among the
company
rational men.
among the rational men.
After all, the
After
subversive
all, the subversive
intellectual came under
intellectual
false
came under
pretenses,
false
with bad
pretenses,
documents,
with bad
out of
documents,
love.
out of love.
Her labor
Her
is
labor
as
is as
necessary as
necessary
it is
as it
unwelcome.
is unwelcome.
The university needs what
University
she
needs what she
bears, but
bears,
cannot
but
bear
cannot
what she
bear
brings.
what she
And
brings.
on top of all that,
And on
she
top of all that,
disappears.
she disappears.
She
She
disappears into the
disappears into the
underground, the
underground,
down
the
low,
down low, low
maroon
down
community
maroon
of the
community of the
university,
university,
into the
into the
undercommons of
undercommons
enlightenment,
of
where
enlightenment,
the work gets
where the
done,
work gets
where the work
done,
gets
where the
subverted,
work gets
where the
subverted,
revolution
where
is
the
still
revolution
black,
is still
still
black,
strong.
still strong.
What is that
What
work?
is that work
And what is
that,
the social
and what is the
capacity
social
for
capacity
both
for both
reproducing
reproducing
the
the
university
university
and
and
producing
producing
fugitivity?
fugitivity?
Fugitivity. If
If one
one
were
were
to
to say
say
teaching,
teaching,
one would be
one
performing
would
the
be
work of
performing
a
the work of
university.
the university.
Teaching is merely a
Teaching is
profession
merely a
and an
profession and an
operation of that
operation
onto
that onto auto
auto-encyclopedic circle of the
encyclopedic
state
circle of the
that Jacques
state
Derrida
that Jacques
calls
Derrida calls
university,
universitas.
universitas.
But,
But it is useful
but it is
to
useful
invoke
to
this
evoke
operation
the
to
operation to
glimpse the
glimpse
hole
the
in
hole
the
in the
fence where
fence
labor
where
enters,
labor
to
enters,
glimpse its
to
hiring
glimpse its
hall,
hiring
its night
hall, its
quarters.
night quarters.
The
The
university
university
needs
needs
teaching
teaching
labor
labor,
despite itself
despite
or
itself,
as itself,
or as itself,
self-identical with
self-identical
and
with, and
thereby
thereby
erased by it.
erased by it.
It is not teaching
It
that
is not
holds the
teaching that
social
holds the
capacity,
social
but
capacity,
something that
but
produces the
something
not
produces
visible
not
other
visible
side of
other
teaching,
side of
a
teaching.
thinking through the
Thinking
skin
through the
of
skin
teaching
of
toward a
teaching toward
collective
collective
orientation to the
orientation to the
knowledge
knowledge
object as
object
future
as a
project,
future project,
and the
and a
commitment to what
commitment
we want
to
to
what we
call the
want to
prophetic
call prophetic
organization.
organization.
But it is
But it is
teaching
teaching
that
that brings
brings
us
us
in.
in. Before there are
Or
grants,
there are grants,
research,
research,
conferences, books,
conferences,
and journals,
books,
there is the
journals.
experience of
There is
being taught
experience of being
and of
taught and
teaching.
teaching.
Before the research
Before the
posts with no
research posts,
teaching,
no teaching.
before the graduate
Before the
students to
graduate
mark the
students to mark
exams,
the
before the
exams.
string of
Before the string
sabbaticals,
of
before the
sabbaticals.
permanent
Before the
reduction in
permanent
teaching
reduction in
load,
teaching
the
load.
appointment
The
to run the
appointment to
center,
run the
the
center.
assignment
The
of
assignment
pedagogy
of
to a discipline
pedagogy to
called
a discipline
education,
called
before
education.
the course
The
designed to
course
be a new
designed to be
book,
a new book.
teaching
Teaching
happened.
happened.
The moment of
The
teaching
moment
for
of
food
teaching for food is
is
therefore
therefore
often
often
mistakenly
mistakenly
taken to
therefore
be a
taken to be a
stage,
stage, if as if
as if
eventually
eventually
one should not teach
one
for
should
food.
not teach for food.
If the
If
stage
the stage
persists,
persists,
there is a
there is a
social
social
pathology
pathology in
in
the
the
university.
university. But if the teaching
If
is
the teaching is
successfully passed
successfully
on,
passed
the
on,
stage is
stage is
surpassed,
surpassed.
and
The
teaching is
teaching is
consigned
consigned
to those
to
who are
those who
known to remain on
to
the
remain on the
stage,
stage.
the
The
socio-pathological
socio-pathological
labor of the
labor of the
university.
university.
Kant
Kant
interestingly
interestingly
calls
calls
such a
such a
stage
stage
self-incurred
self-incurred minority.
minority. He
He
tries
tries
to
to contrast
contrast
it
it with
with
having the
having the
determination and
determination and
courage
courage
to
to
use one's
use one's
intelligence
intelligence without
without
being
being
guided by
guided by
another.
another. Have the courage to
Have the
use your
courage to
own
use your
intelligence.
own intelligence.
But what would it
But
mean
what would it mean
if
a
teaching,
teaching,
or
or
rather what we might
rather,
call
what
the
we might
beyond of
call the
teaching, is
beyond of teaching?
precisely what
Is
one is asked to
precisely
get
what was
beyond, to
asked
stop
to get
taking
beyond,
sustenance?
to stop taking sustenance.
And when what
And
of
what of
those
those
minorities who
minorities
refuse? The
refuse?
tribe of
The tribe of
moles who will not
moles
come back
will
from
not come
beyond,
back from beyond.
that which
That
is
which is
beyond
beyond
the
the beyond
beyond
of
of
teaching,
teaching, as if they will
as if
not
they
be
will
subjects,
not be
as if
subjects, as
they
if they
want to
want to
think as
think as
objects, as
objects,
minority.
as minority.
Certainly,
Certainly,
the
the
perfect
perfect
subjects of
subjects of
communication,
communication,
those
who
successfully beyond
successfully
teaching,
beyond
will
teaching,
see them as
see them
waste.
as waste. But their
But their
collective
collective
labor
labor will
will
always
always
call into
question
question
who
who
truly
truly
is
is
taking
taking
the
the
orders
orders
of
of
the
the
Enlightenment.
Enlightenment. Their
The
wasted
waste
lives,
lives, the
the
waste
waste lives
lives
for
for
those
those
moments
moments
beyond
beyond
teaching,
teaching,
when you give
when you give
away the
away the
unexpected,
unexpected,
beautiful
beautiful
phrase.
phrase,
Unexpected.
unexpected.
No one has
No one
asked.
has us
Beautiful.
beautiful.
It will never
It
come
will
back.
never come back.
Is being the
Being
biopower of the
biopower of the
Enlightenment
Enlightenment
truly better than this?
truly better than this? Perhaps the
Perhaps the
biopower of the Enlightenment
biopower of the
knows
Enlightenment
this.
knows this, or perhaps it is
Or
just
perhaps it is
reacting
just
to the
reaching to
objecthood
the
of this labor
objecthood of
as it
its
must.
labor as it must.
But even as it
But even
depends
as it
on these
depends
moles,
on these
these
moles, these
refugees, we will call
refugees,
them
we will call them
uncollegial,
uncollegial, uncollegial,
collegial,
Im-
impractical, naive,
impractical,
unprofessional.
naive, unprofessional.
And one
And
may
one
be
may be
given
given
one last chance to be
one last
pragmatic.
chance to be
Why
pragmatic.
steal when
Why
one can
steal
have it
when
all?
one can have it
They
all?
will
They will
ask.
ask.
But if one hides from
But if
this
one hides from this
interpolation,
interpolation,
neither
neither
agrees
agrees
nor
nor
disagrees,
disagrees,
but goes
but
with
goes
hands
with
full
hands
into the
full
underground of the
into the
university,
underground of the
into the
university, into
undercommons.
the
This will
undercommons.
be regarded as
This will be
theft,
regarded
as a
as
criminal
theft,
act,
as a criminal
and it
act,
is at the same
and it
time
is at the same
the
time
only
the
possible
only
act.
possible act. In that undercommons of the university, one
In that
can see
undercommons of the university, one can
that it
see
is
that it is
not a
not a
matter
matter
of
of
teaching
teaching versus
versus
research, or
research,
even the
or
beyond
even
of
the beyond
teaching
of
versus
teaching versus the
individualization of
individualization
research.
of research.
To
To
enter
enter
this
this
space
space is to
is to
inhabit the
inhabit the
ruptural
ruptural
and
and the
rapture
enraptured
disclosure of
disclosure
the
of the
commons that
commons that
fugitive
fugitive
enlightenment
enlightenment
enacts,
enacts,
the
the criminal,
criminal, matricidal,
matricidal,
queer, in
queer,
the
in the
cistern,
cistern,
on the
on the
stroll of the
stroll of the
stolen life,
stolen life,
the life
a life
stolen by
stolen by
enlightenment
enlightenment
and
and
stolen
stolen
back,
back, where the
where
commons
the
give
commons
refuge,
gives
where the
refuge,
refuge
where
gives
the
commons.
refuge gives commons.
What the
What the
beyond of
beyond
teaching
of
is
teaching
really
is really
about
about
is
is
not
not
finishing
finishing
oneself,
oneself,
not
not
passing,
passing,
not
not
completing.
completing. It's
It's
about
about allowing
allowing
subjectivity
subjectivity to
to
be
be
unlawfully
unlawfully
overcome by
overcome by
others.
others, a
A
radical
radical passion
passion,
and
passivity,
passivity
such that one
such that
becomes
one
unfit for
becomes unfit
subjection,
for subjection,
because one does
because
not
one does
possess the
not
kind of
possess the kind of
agency that can
agency
hold the
that can hold the
regulatory forces
regulatory
of
forces of
subjecthood,
subjecthood.
and one
And one
cannot
cannot
initiate the
initiate the auto-interpolative
auto-interpolative
torque
torque
that
that
biopower
biopower subjection
subjection
requires and rewards.
requires and rewards.
It is
It
not
is
so
not
much
so much
the
the
teaching
teaching
as it
as it
is the
is the
prophecy and
prophecy,
the
the
organization of the act of the
organization of the
teaching.
act of teaching,
The
the
prophecy that
prophecy
predicts
that predicts
its
its
own
own
organization
organization
and has therefore
and has
passed as
therefore passed
commons,
as
and the
commons,
prophecy
the
that exceeds
prophecy
its
that
own
exceeds its own
organization, and
organization
therefore as
and
yet can
therefore
only
as
be
yet can
organized.
only be organized.
Against the prophetic
Against the prophetic
organization of the
organization of the
undercommons is
undercommons
arrayed its
is
own
arrayed its
deadening
own
labor
deadening
for the
labor for the
university,
university.
and beyond that,
Beyond that,
the
the
negligence
negligence
of
of professionalization
professionalization and the
and the
professionalization of
professionalization
the
of the
critical
critical
academic.
academic.
The
The
undercommons
undercommons
is
is therefore
therefore
always an
always an
unsafe
unsafe
neighborhood.
neighborhood. As
As
Frederick
Frederick
Jameson
Jameson reminds
reminds
us,
us, the
the
university
university
depends
depends
upon
on
enlightenment
enlightenment
type
type
critiques and
and
demystification of
demystification of
belief
belief
and committed
and committed
ideology
ideology
in order to clear the
in order
ground
to
for
clear the ground for
unobstructed
unobstructed
planning and
planning
development.
and quote development.
This is
This
the
is the
weakness
weakness of
of
the
the
university,
university, a lapse
the lapse
in
in
its
its
homeland
homeland
security.
security.
It needs
It
labor
needs
power
labor
for this
power for this
enlightenment type
enlightenment type
critique,
critique,
but
but
somehow
somehow
labor
labor
always
always
escapes.
escapes.
As Frederick Jameson reminds us, the university depends upon enlightenment type critiques. Oh, wait, you already read that.
The premature
The premature
subjects
subjects of the
of the
undercommons took the
undercommons
call
took the
seriously,
call seriously, or
or
had
had
to
to
be
be
serious
serious
about the
about the
call.
call. They were
They were
not
not clear
clear
about
about
planning,
planning, too
too
mystical, too
mystical,
full
too
of
full of
belief.
belief,
And yet,
and yet this
this
labor
labor
force
force cannot
cannot
reproduce
reproduce
itself.
itself.
It must be
It must
reproduced.
be reproduced.
The
The
university works
university
for the
works for the
day when
day
it will
when
be
it will
able to
be
rid itself,
able to rid
like
itself,
capital
like
in general,
capital in
of the
general,
trouble
of
of
the
labor.
trouble of labor.
It will then be able
It
to
will then be
reproduce a
able to
labor
reproduce
force
a labor
that
force that
understands
understands
itself as
itself
not only
as not only
unnecessary but
unnecessary,
dangerous to the
but
development
dangerous to
of
the development of
capitalism.
capitalism.
Much pedagogy
Much
and
pedagogy and
scholarship is
scholarship
already
is
dedicated
already
in this
dedicated
direction.
in this direction.
Students must come
Students
to
must
see
come to see
themselves as the
themselves as the
problem,
problem,
which
which
the
counter to the
complaints of
complaints of
restorationist critics
critics
of the
of the
university
university
is
is
precisely what it
precisely what
means
it
to be a
means to be a
customer,
customer,
to take on
to
the
take on the
burden of
burden of
realization and
realization and
always
always
necessarily be
necessarily be
inadequate to it.
inadequate to it.
Later, these
Later, these
students will
students
be
will
able to
be
see
able to see
themselves
themselves
properly as
properly as
obstacles to
obstacles to
society, or
society,
perhaps
or
with lifelong
perhaps
learning,
with lifelong learning,
students will
students
return
will
having
learn
successfully
having
diagnosed
successfully
themselves as the
diagnosed
problem.
themselves as the problem.
Still, the
Still, the
dream
dream
of
of an
undifferentiated labor
undifferentiated labor
that knows
that knows
itself as
itself as
superfluous
superfluous
is
is
interrupted
interrupted
precisely by
precisely
the
by the
labor of
labor
clearing
of
away
clearing
the
away
burning
the burning
roadblocks of
roadblocks of
ideology.
ideology.
While it is
While it is
better that
better
this
that this
police
police
function
function
be in
be
the
in the
hands of the
hands of the
few,
few,
it still
it still
raises labor
raises
as
labor
difference,
as
labor as
difference,
development of
labor
other
as a
labor,
development of the other
and
labor,
therefore labor
and
as a source of
therefore
wealth.
labor as a source of wealth. And although the Enlightenment type critique, as we suggest below, informs on kisses the cheek of any autonomous development as a result of this difference in labor.
There is a break in the wall here, a shallow place in the river, a place to land under the rocks. The
The
university still
university still
needs this
needs this
clandestine
clandestine
labor
labor
to
to
prepare this
prepare this
undifferentiated labor
undifferentiated
force
labor force,
whose increasing
whose increasing
specialization and
specialization and managerialistic
managerialist tendencies
tendencies
against
again
contra
contra the
the
restoration war
restorationists represent
represent
precisely
precisely
the
the
successful
successful
integration of
integration
the
of the
division of
division of
labor
labor
with the
with the
universe of
universe of
exchange that
exchange that
commands
commands
restorationist
restorationist
loyalty.
loyalty.
Introducing this labor
Introducing
upon
this
labor
labor upon
and
labor
providing the
and
space
providing
for
the
its
space
development
for its
creates
development
risks.
creates risks.
Like the
Like the
colonial
colonial police
force recruited unwittingly from
recruited
guerrilla
unwittingly from
neighborhoods,
guerrilla neighborhoods,
university
university
labor may
labor
harbor
may
refugees,
harbor refugees,
fugitives,
fugitives,
renegades, and
renegades, and
castaways.
castaways.
But there are good
But
reasons
there are
for the
good reasons for the
university to be
university to be
confident that such
confident that
elements
such
will be
elements will
exposed
be
or forced
exposed or
underground.
forced underground.
Precautions have been
Precautions
taken,
have been taken.
book lists have been
Book
drawn up,
lists have been drawn up.
teaching observations
Teaching
conducted,
observations conducted.
invitations to contribute made.
Invitations to contribute made.
Yet against these
Yet against
precautions
these
stands the
precautions
imminence of
stands the
transcendence,
imminence of
the
transcendence,
necessary
the
deregulation
necessary
and the
deregulation
possibilities of
and the
criminality and
possibilities of
fugitivity
criminality
that
and
labor
fugitivity
upon
that
labor
labor upon
requires.
labor.
Maroon communities of
Maroon
composition
communities of
teachers,
composition
mentorless
teachers,
graduate
mentorless
students,
grad
adjunct
students,
Marxist
adjunct Marxist
historians, out or
historians,
queer
out of
management
queer
professors,
management professors,
state college
state
ethnic
college
studies
ethnic
departments,
studies
closed
departments,
down film
closed down
programs,
film
visa
programs,
expired
expired
Yemeni student newspaper
newspapers,
editors,
editors,
historically black
historically
college
black college
sociologists, and
sociologists,
feminist
and
engineers.
feminist engineers.
And what will
What
be
will the
what will the
university
university
say
say
of
of them? It will say
it will say they are
they are
unprofessional.
unprofessional. This is not an
This is
arbitrary
not an arbitrary
charge.
charge.
It
It
is a
is the charge
charge
against
against the more than professional.
more than professional.
How
How
do
do
those
those
who
who
exceed
exceed
the
the
profession,
profession,
who
who
exceed
exceed
and by
and by
exceeding
exceeding
escape,
escape?
how do these
How do those
how do those
maroons
maroons problematize themselves,
problematize
problematize the university, force
force
the university to consider them a
a
problem, a danger?
The
The Undercommons is not, in
short,
short, a kind of fanciful communities of whimsy invoked
invoked
by
Bill
Bill
readings
readings at
at
the
the
end
end
of
of
his
his
book.
book.
The
The
Undercommons,
undercommons,
its
its
maroons,
maroons,
are always at
are
war,
always at war,
always in hiding.
always in hiding. There is no distinction
There is
between
no
the American
distinction between the
university
American
and
university and
professionalization.
professionalization. But
But
surely, if
surely,
one
if
can write
one can
something on
write
the
something
surface
on the
of the
surface of the
university, if
university,
one can write,
if
for
one can
instance,
write, for
in the
instance,
university
in the
about
university
singularities,
about
those
singularities,
events that
those events
refuse
that
either the
refuse either
abstract or
the
individual
abstract or
category of
individual
the bourgeois
category of the
subject,
bourgeois subject,
one cannot
one
say
cannot
that there
say
is no
that
space
there
in the
is no
university
space in the
itself.
university itself.
Surely there is some
Sure,
space
there is
here for
some
a
place
theory,
here for
a
theory,
conference,
a
a book, a
conference, a
school of
book,
thought.
a school of thought.
Surely the
Surely the
university
university
also makes
also
thought
makes thought
possible.
possible.
Is it
It is
not the
not the it
purpose
is
of the
not the purpose of the
university as
university as universitas
universitas, as liberal
as
arts, to
liberal
make the
arts to
commons, make the
make the
public,
public,
make the
make the
nation of
nation of
democratic
democratic
citizenry?
citizenry?
Is it
Is
not
it not
therefore important to
therefore important
protect
to protect
this
this universitas,
universitas, whatever its
whatever its
impurities,
impurities,
from
from
professionalization in the
professionalization in the
university?
university?
But we would
But we would
ask,
ask,
what is
what
already
is
not possible
already
in
not
this
possible
talk
in
in
this
the
talk
hallways,
in the
among the
hallways,
buildings,
among the
in
buildings,
rooms of the
in rooms
university
of
about
the
possibility?
university about
How is
possibility?
the thought of the
How is the
outside,
thought of the outside, as
as
Gayatri means it,
Spivak means it, already not
already
possible
not
in this
possible
complaint?
in this complaint? The Maroons know
The
something
Maroons
about
know
possibility.
something about possibility. They are the
They are
condition
the
of
condition of
possibility, of
possibility
the
of the
production of
production of
knowledge in the
knowledge in the
university, the
university, the
singularities against the
singularities against
writings
the
of
writers of
singularity,
singularity,
the
the
writers who
writers
write,
who
publish,
write,
travel, and
publish,
speak.
travel, and
It is
speak.
not merely a
It is not
matter of the
merely a
secret
matter of the
labor
secret
upon which
labor
such
upon
space
which
is
such
lifted,
space is
though of
lifted,
course such
though of
space is
course such
lifted from
space
the
is lifted
collective
from
labor and
collective
by it.
labor and by
It
it.
is rather
It
that
is
to be a
rather that
critical
to be a
academic in the
critical academic in
university
the
is to be
university is
against
to
the
be
university,
against the
and to be
university.
against the
And to be
university
against
is
the
always to
university is
recognize
always
it
to
and to be
recognize it
recognized
and be
by it, and to
recognized by it
institute
and
the
to be
negligence
institute
of
the
that
negligence of
internal
that
outside,
internal
that
outside, that
unassimilated
unassimilated
underground, a negligence
underground,
of
a
it that is
negligence of it,
precisely, we
that is
must insist, the
precisely, we must
basis of the
insist, the basis
professions.
of the
And this
professions.
act of being
And this act
against
of being
always
against
already
always
excludes the
already always
unrecognized
already
mode of
excludes the
politics.
unrecognized
The
mode of
beyond of
politics, the
politics
beyond
already
of
in
politics
motion, a
already in
discredited
motion,
criminal
a discredited criminal
para-organization, what Robin
para-organization,
Kelly might
what
refer
Robin
to as the
Kelly might refer to
infra-political
as the
field and its
political
music.
field.
It is not just the labor of
It
the
is not just
Maroons, but
labor
their
of the
prophetic
Maroons, but their
organization that
prophetic
is negated by the
organization that is
idea
negated
of
by the
intellectual
idea of
space in an
intellectual space
organization
in an
called the
organization
university.
called the
This is
university.
why the
This is
negligence
why
of the
the
critical
negligence of the
academic is
critical
always,
academic
and
is
at the same
always at the
time, an
same
assertion
time
of
an
bourgeois
assertion of bourgeois
individualism.
individualism.
Such negligence is
Such
the
negligence
essence of
is the essence of
professionalization, where it turns
professionalization,
out
where it turns out
professionalization is not the
professionalization
opposite
is
of
not the
negligence,
opposite of
but its mode
negligence,
of
but its
politics in the
mode
United
of politics
States.
in the United
It takes the
States.
form of a
It takes the
choice that
form of a
excludes the
choice
prophetic
that excludes the
organization of the
prophetic
undercommons,
organization of the
to be
undercommons,
against, to put into
against, to put into
question the knowledge
question the
object.
knowledge
Let us
object.
say in this
Let us
case the
say in this
university,
case
not
the
so much without
university,
touching
not
its
so much without
foundation,
touching its
as without
foundation, as
touching one's
without
own
touching
condition
one's
of
own
possibility,
condition of
without
possibility,
admitting the
without admitting
undercommons
the
and being
undercommons
admitted
and
to it.
being admitted
From
to it.
this, a
From
general
this,
negligence of
general
condition
negligence of
is the only
conditions is
coherent
the only
position,
coherent
not
position,
so much an
not so much an
anti-foundationalism or
anti-foundationalism
foundationalism,
or
as
foundationalism,
both are used
as
against each
both
other
are
to
used
avoid
against each other
contact
to
with the
avoid contact
undercommons.
with the
This
undercommons.
always
This
negligent
always
act is what
negligent
leads
act
us
is what
to
leads
say
us
there is no
to say
distinction
there is
between the
no distinction
university in the
between the
United
university
States and
and the United States and
professionalization.
professionalization.
There is no
There
point
is
in
no
trying to
point in
hold out the
trying to hold
university
out the
against its
university against its
professionalization. They
professionalization.
are the same. Yet the Maroons
Yet the
refuse
Maroons refuse to refuse
professionalization, that is, to be
that
against the
is to be
university.
against the
The
university.
university
The
will not
university will
recognize
not
this
recognize
indecision,
its indecision,
and
and
thus
thus
professionalization is shaped
professionalization is
precisely
shaped
by what it
precisely
cannot
by what it cannot
acknowledge, its
acknowledge,
internal
its internal
antagonism, its
antagonism,
wayward
its
labor,
wayward
its
labor,
surplus.
its surplus.
Against this wayward
Against this
labor, it
wayward
sends the
labor, it sends
critical,
the critical,
sends its claim
sends its
that what
claim
it
that
left
what
beyond the
left behind
critical is
is
waste.
waste.
But in
In
fact,
fact,
critical
critical
education
education
only
only
attempts to
attempts
perfect
to perfect
professional
professional education.
education. The
The
professions
professions
constitute
constitute
themselves in an
themselves in
opposition to the
opposition to the
unregulated
unregulated
and the
and the
ignorant without
ignorant without
acknowledging the
acknowledging the
unregulated,
unregulated,
ignorant,
ignorant,
unprofessional
unprofessional
labor
labor
that goes
that
on
goes on not
not
opposite
opposite them, but
within
within
them.
them. But if
But if
professional
professional
education ever
education ever
slips in
slips
its
in
labor,
its labor,
ever reveals its
ever reveals
condition
its
of
condition of
possibility to the
possibility to the
profession it
profession it
supports and
supports,
reconstitutes,
institutes,
critical
critical
education is
education
there
is
to
there
pick it
to
up,
pick it up,
sell it.
to sell it.
Never mind,
Never mind,
it
it
was
was
just a
just a
bad
bad
dream, the
dream,
ravings, the
the
drawings
drawings
of the mad.
the mad.
Because
Because
critical
critical
education is
education is
precisely there
precisely
to
there
tell
to tell
professional
professional
education to rethink
education
its
to
relationship to its
rethink its
opposite,
relationship to its
by
opposite,
which critical
by
education
which
means
critical
both
education
itself and the
means both
unregulated,
itself and the
against
unregulated,
which professional
against which
education is
professional
deployed.
education is
In other
deployed.
words,
In other
critical
words, critical
education
education
arrives
arrives
to
to
support
support
any
any
faltering
negligence,
negligence, to be
to be
vigilant in
vigilant
its
in its
negligence,
negligence,
to be critical
to be
engaged
critical and engaged
in its
in its
negligence. It is
negligence.
more
It
than
is
an
more than
ally
an
of
ally
professional
of professional
education.
education.
It is its
It
attempted
is an
completion.
attempted completion. A professional
A
education
professional
has become
education
a
has become a critical
education.
education. But one should not
But
applaud
one
this
should not
fact.
applaud this fact.
It should be
It
taken
should
for
be
what it is,
taken for what it is,
not progress
not
in the professional
progress
schools,
in the professional
not
schools, not
cohabitation with the
cohabitation with
universitas,
the universitas,
but
but
counterinsurgency,
counterinsurgency,
the
the
refounding terrorism
refounding
of law,
terrorism of law,
coming
coming
for the
for the
discredited,
discredited,
coming for those who
coming
refuse to
for
write
those
off
who refuse
or
to
write
write
up
off
the
or
undercommon.
write up the undercommons. The universitas is
The
always a
universitas
state
is always a
state
state
strategy.
strategy, Perhaps it's surprising to
Perhaps
say
it's surprising to say
professionalization, that
professionalization,
which reproduces
that
the
which
professions,
reproduces
is a state strategy.
the state strategy.
Certainly,
Certainly,
critical academic
critical
professionals
academic
tend to be
professors
regarded
tend to
today
be
as harmless
harmless
intellectuals,
intellectuals,
malleable, perhaps
malleable,
capable of
perhaps
some
capable
modest
of some
intervention in the
modest
so-called
interventions
public
in the
sphere.
so-called public sphere.
But to
But
see
to
how
see
this
how this
underestimates the presence of
underestimates the
state,
presence of the state,
we can turn
we
to a
can
bad
turn to a
reading
bad
of
reading of
Derrida's
Derrida's
consideration of
consideration of
Hegel's
Hegel's
1822 report to
1822
the Prussian
the
Minister of
Russian Minister of
Education.
Education.
Derrida
Derrida
notices the way
notices the
that
way
Hegel
that
rivals the
Hegel
state
rivals the state
in his
in
ambition
his
for
ambition
education,
for
wanting to
education,
put into place a
wanting to put into
progressive
place a
pedagogy of
progressive
philosophy
pedagogy of
designed to
philosophy
support Hegel's
designed to
worldview,
support Hegel's
to unfold
worldview,
as
to
encyclopedic.
unfold the encyclopedic.
This
His
ambition
ambition,
both
this
mirrors
ambition
the
both
state's
mirrors the
ambition,
state's ambition,
because it too
because it
wants to
too
control
wants to
education and to
control
impose its
education and
worldview,
to
and
impose a
to
worldview.
threatens it
It
because
threatens it
Hegel's state
because
exceeds
Hegel's state
and thus
exceeds and thus
localizes the Prussian
localizes the
state,
Prussian state,
exposing its
exposing
pretense
its
to the
pretense to the
encyclopedic.
encyclopedic.
Derrida draws
Derrida
the
draws
following
the
lesson
following
from his
lesson from
reading,
his reading,
the
the
Universitas,
Universitas,
as
as
it
he
generalizes the
generalizes the
university,
university,
but specifies it
but
too
specifies it
as
too as
properly intellectual
properly
and not professional,
intellectual and not professional,
always has the impulse
always
of
has the
state,
impulse of state
of enlightenment,
or enlightenment, and the
and the impulse of
state
state
or
or
its
its
specific
specific conditions of production
of
and
production and
reproduction.
reproduction.
Both have the ambition to
Both have the
be,
ambition to be,
as
as
Derrida
Derrida
says,
says,
onto and
onto and
onto, on.
auto-encyclopedic.
It follows
On,
that to be onto. By the way, it's
if
2:57. I don't know if.
oh, you gotta go.
Yeah, I do, but I think we could finish. Can we read really fast the rest of the
Sure.
whatever? Okay.
Yeah,
On
yeah.
it follows, or should we stop? What do you think?
No, let's try to finish real quick. Onto an auto-encyclopedic. It follows that to be either
It
for the
follows that to be either the
Universitas or against it
Universitas or
represents
against it
problems.
presents problems.
To be
To
for
be
the
for the
Universitas
Universitas
is to
is to
support
support this
onto an auto-encyclopedic project of the United
state
States as enlightenment,
or
or
enlightenment as
enlightenment as
totality,
totality,
to use an old-fashioned word. To be
to
too
be
much against the Universitas, however, creates the danger of specific elements in the state taking steps to rid itself of the contradiction of the onto and auto-encyclopedic project of the Universitas and replacing it with some other form of social reproduction, the anti-enlightenment, the position, for instance, of New Labor in Britain and of the states of New York and California with their teaching institutions.
But a bad reading of Derrida
But a
will
bad
also
reading of
yield
Derrida
our
will
question
also
again.
yield our question again: what is lost in this undecidability? What is the price of refusing to be either for the Universitas or for professionalization? To be critical of both, and who pays that price? Who makes it possible to reach the aporia of this reading? Who works in the premature excess of totality, in the not ready of negligence? I think I have to stop.
Yeah, you gotta go. Yeah.
Yeah.
1 minute.
Yeah. And I have to change Zoom accounts too. So.
Cool, man.
Thank you. Yeah.
Thank you, Tim.
Yeah. Talk soon. I'll message you later.
Sounds good, man.
Okay.
Take care.
Bye.